Welcome back. Truly an historic meeting in Singapore this week. President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong Un come to an agreement to start the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula.
Chairman Kim has before him an opportunity like no other to be remembered as the leader who ushered in a glorious new era of security and prosperity for his people. Chairman Kim and I just signed a joint statement in which he reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. We also agreed to vigorous negotiations to implement the agreement as soon as possible.
As a concession to Pyongyang, the president agreed to end joint military exercises between the United States and South Korea. Joining me right now to help discuss this and more, North Korea and China expert Gordon Chang, along with national security analyst Morgan Ortagus. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us. And Gordon, it was you who first raised this issue of these military exercises going away that could possibly be problematic, because you said to me as soon as you heard that readiness is so critical. Tell me about that.
Yeah. These exercises just make sure that readiness is at a high level. We need to have readiness there because, we got to deter North Korea, got to defend South Korea if necessary. And readiness declines very rapidly, especially when you have two militaries that operate together. You have to have these officers and you have to have platoon leaders and everybody else working together. So I'm concerned about that. Now, we can sort of make adjustments. So, for instance, if you stop the big named exercises, you can do a lot of the training sort of in a less conspicuous way. But nonetheless, we have got to have readiness because Korean Peninsula is a pretty dangerous place, even in the best of times.
And Vice President Mike Pence said, yes, we will do away with the large-scale exercises, but we're still going to continue this training. So there was a little confusion about what exactly we're doing. I think after people raised their red flag about this, including yourself, they were much more clear, saying, no, these exercises will continue.
Yeah. The thing that's important is that the North Koreans continue to exercise. They've got two big exercises themselves in the winter training cycle, summer training cycle. They forward deployed their military on the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. And they've got chemical and biological agents, an estimated 14,300 artillery tubes. This is a dangerous situation.
Wow. It sure is. And by all accounts, given the situation that you refer to, this meeting, the first time a U.S. president has met with the North Korean leader, has been extraordinary. Morgan, your reaction?
I think it's extraordinary the way that the president is also conducting this diplomacy. It's different than we have ever seen before, and it's the way I think that a CEO would approach this. I think he's approaching it like a businessman, where two CEOs get together and talk about sort of the overarching goals, and then the teams hammer out the details. We have tried many methods over the past 30 years to get the North Koreans to come to the table. We've tried the six-party talks. We've, in many ways, almost tried ignoring the rhetoric. And while we were ignoring it, they were continuing to build capacity. And now their weapons program is at a phase that we can't ignore it anymore. And it's not just the weapons, Maria. It's also about cyberspace. They are the North Koreans are one of the most sophisticated actors on the planet as it relates to cyber warfare. So there's so much more here in the calculus that we need, why we need to be having these conversations, than just nuclear weapons. That's a piece of a very big picture.
So do you believe, I want to ask you both this, but do you believe, Kim, that he is going to work toward denuclearization?
I think the North Koreans have consistently proved to be liars and cheats.
Right.
Saying that, I think that the president had no option but try to engage him directly, and we're going to have to continue to hold the feet to the fire through sanctions and through economic means. And that's why I think, as Gordon alluded to, while keeping a military presence there is so important, not only for the North and South Korean relationship, but for what we're seeing in China as well. And we're going to listen. The North Koreans would like the peace treaty, right? They'd like us to move towards that. I think that South Korean businesses would like to see sanctions eventually go. We'd like to see more economic trading between the two states. We're a long way off from that. But when you talk about the vision that I think that the president was trying to present to Kim Jong Un, it was economic partnership between America, between North and South Korea, a vision for what the future of North Korea could look like.
Somebody told me a funny story that actually Kim Jong Un has a real personality. That he was saying, look, here's North Korea. The rest of the world should see it, and then maybe I'll go to Miami and smoke a cigar. So he has a vision. of what could be, Gordon, would he want that to happen in North Korea? I'm talking about tourism. I'm talking about economic activity, freedoms.
You know, I don't think so. But, you know, as President Trump has said, look, we got to give this guy a chance. And that's important because he is a new leader and he is different, certainly. You know, Kim Jong Un is a fascinating individual from what we can tell. He is not like his father at all. His father was a hermit. He's very much like his grandfather, a charismatic figure. You know, the Kim family has this sort of playbook to stay in power, and that's keep people destitute. You keep people destitute, they don't have the means to resist. It's the middle class that generally starts revolutions. No middle class, no revolution. And that's a little bit too simplistic.
Wow,
but
that's a scary thought, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, but that has been what the Kim family, in fact, has done over decades. So I think Kim, he does feel the pressure on the Dongju, the moneyed class, even the poorest North Koreans. There now is an expectation that things will get better because they've heard of all of these summits, all of this diplomatic outreach. And so Kim has to give into that a little bit. But he doesn't have to. But what he's trying to do is prevent a wholesale opening, which would basically lead to the end of the regime.
And Gordon just said something, you know, about Kim not being like his father. And I think it's just sort of fascinating that when you think about it, Maria, he's a millennial. He's actually younger than I am. And so you've got in Saudi Arabia, you've got a millennial, the crown prince leading everything. Same thing in UAE, same thing in Qatar, same thing in North Korea.
Wow, that is
so we've got millennials running the hot spots around the world. I don't know what'll happen with that.
Well, let's face it, though. When you look at the Middle East, what is it? 3/4 of the population is 30 years old or younger?
Yeah, exactly, and you have a similar young population in Asia as well, in the emerging markets. Yeah. So who knows if it will have an effect, but might scare the world when we think about millennials running these countries.